Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and welcome to lecture number 17 for basic engineering mechanics. In this lecture we will continue our discussion for force system resultants, and today we would look at distributed loadings. So previously in this chapter and everywhere else in this course, we were looking at forces which were concentrated at a particular point, but in most practical cases we would expect that the force is distributed over a rigid body. So for example, if we have a beam which has some weight, so the weight is not acting at a single point, but it is distributed over the whole beam. Okay, so in this course we would only look at simple distributed loadings, and let me explain what a simple distributed loading is in a minute. So what is a distributed load? A distributed load is a force which is distributed over a line or a surface. Okay, so rather than talking about a force, we would talk about force per unit area. Incidentally, this also has the same units of pressure. So rather than talking about a resultant force at a particular point, we would talk about a pressure P, which is a function of x. So when we say a simple distributed loading, we basically mean that our P function, or the force per unit area function, it only depends on one variable. So it is allowed to vary along one of the axes. So like in this case, the P function is a function of x. That means that the force per unit area would be different at this point, and it would be different at this point because it can depend on the variable x, but it is not dependent on the other variable. Maybe the other variable is y. So that means whatever the force we have on this end, the same force is applied on the other end. So this simplifies our calculations and analysis, and this very simple case is also very relevant in practical cases. So the reason we are studying simple distributed loadings is, number one, that even with this very simple model, we can go a very long way, and we can simplify many practical distributed loadings. And the second reason is that the to study distributed loadings in their full form requires some skills which we are not going to develop in this course, so which is good for us. Okay, so so when we say that we have a simple distributed loading, we basically mean that loading along a single axis. So this function is just a function of x, as I told you earlier. So that means that I can write a w function which is just p times px. P, remember, was the force per unit area, and then I multiply with the width of this beam, and the width was b, and now this function w is force per unit length. So previously the p function was the force per unit area, but this w, or weight function, is the force per unit length. That is why it has the units of Newton meters. And so the second assumption is that we are only going to look at coplanar distributed loadings. That means that all the forces lie in the same plane. Actually, all the cases that we would study would be for parallel forces, so that all the forces would either be vertically upward or vertically downward. So we will not look at a generic force maybe acting in any direction. So we are only looking at very simple forces. So as all the forces are in the same direction, we can use algebraic addition to find the resultant of the force. Because all the forces are in the same direction, so we do not, for the analysis of simple distributed loadings, we do not have to worry about the vector form of the force, because the force is along only one axis. So we can just sum up the forces as scalars, or we can just use the algebraic addition. Okay. So the aim again here is that given a distributed loading, we want to find a resultant force which which forms the equivalent system for that distributed loading. So in this case, we want to find this resultant Fr, but we also want to find the distance where this Fr should be applied, so that the effect of all of this distributed loading is same as this original force Fr. Again, we are going to use, because we all the forces are coplanar and all the forces are parallel, that means we can reduce our system to a single force, and we would not even need a moment, as we discussed in the previous lecture in the special cases. So this is a special case because coplanar forces, we have coplanar forces, we have parallel forces, so we can always find a point where the resultant moment is equal to 0. Okay, so now we want to derive the formulas for the resultant moment and this point x bar using the W function. Okay, so we are just going to extend our formulas that we saw previously. So previously we had that the resultant force was just the sum of all the forces, and this was a discrete sum, so to say, but now we have an integral over all of the very small force elements. So this is a very common technique used whenever we go from a discrete system to a continuous system. We replace all the sums by integrals, and rather than using the f inside, we use the infinitesimally small forces at every point. Okay, and df is nothing but wx times dx. Why? Because f was we already saw that wx is df by dx, that the force, the derivative of force with respect to x was wx. So we plug this in back in this integral, and we get this form for the resultant force, that the resultant force is just wx dx integrated over the whole length of the beam, and this would give us the resultant force. And we can also say that the resultant force is just the area under the wx curve. So this thing is just the area under the wx curve. So this integral basically gives the other form. Many times when this area is formed with straight lines, we can simply use the formulas for simple triangle and rectangle areas to solve for this integral. Okay, and so once we are done, once we do this calculation, we would get a resultant force which can form the equivalent system for all the distributed loading. Okay, and again, just to reiterate, this form for the resultant force is only true when, first of all, we have our distributed load only depending on one of the axes, and secondly, we want all the forces to be coplanar and we want all the forces to be parallel. Okay, so once those conditions are true, then this form for the resultant force is correct. Okay, so the second thing that we want to determine is the position of this force Fr, where we should apply this force, so that we do not need a resultant couple moment for the equivalent system. So just again we use the same form. First of all, we know that the resultant moment at any point O was just the sum of f times d, and again we want to convert this sum into an integral, and this d would just become x, because x is just the distance from this point O, and we get the second integral for the moment at point O, which is x times wx dx. And we saw in the previous lecture that to find the point, the position of the force where the moment is 0, we use this formula that x bar times the resultant force is equal to moment at 0, moment at O, and so this simply becomes, so the x bar is just the moment divided by the resultant force, and we get this form for the x bar. Okay, so this is nothing new in terms of concept, but we have changed the arithmetic a little bit. Previously we were using summations, we were adding discrete forces, but now we have a continuum of forces, so we are using integrals. Okay, so I would let's solve a few examples to clarify this concept further. So just to reiterate, this is the location of the resultant force, the same formula that we derived in the previous slide. Okay, this also happens to be the geometric centroid of the loading graph. Centroid is something that we would discuss later in the course, but this form is exactly the same form that we get for the geometric centroid of any shape. Okay, so just to reiterate, whenever we have a system which has a coplanar distributed loading and which is only dependent on one of the axes, then we can write a W function which is just a function of x, and the units of this is Newton meter or pound feet. Once we have this W function, we can use that to find a resultant force, which is exactly what we saw in the previous slides, and this resultant force would produce all the same external effects as these distributed loadings as we saw in the previous slides. Okay, so this is the example that we want to look. Determine the magnitude and location of the equivalent resultant force acting on the shaft in figure 4-49a. This is again an example from our book, and so we have this distributed loading curve which is given by W is equal to 60x squared Newton meters, and so we want to find the magnitude and the location of the resultant force. So first of all, let's find the magnitude of the resultant force, and we know that the resultant force magnitude is simply given by Fr is simply equals to the integral of W of x dx, and our limits are from 0 to 2, and W of x is just 60x squared, so this integral simply becomes 60x cubed divided by 3, and then we have to put the limits from 0 to 2, and this simply gives us 60 times 8 divided by 3, so we get 20 here, and so that becomes 160 Newton. So the first step was again to find the resultant force, which we have already done, but now we want to find the location of that force, where this force should be applied so that this produces the same effects as all of this loading. Okay, so now that we have the result for, let me just write the resultant force result on top here, and then we will rub that off. Okay, so we have that result, and let's get rid of this. Okay, so now we want to find the position x bar, which was simply equal to x W of x dx divided by integral of W of x dx. This integral we already know is 160 Newton, as we found it in for the previous part. So now this x W of x would simply become 60 x to the power 4 divided by 4, 0 to 2, and then we divide this whole thing by 160. Okay, and so this thing comes out to be 60 divided by 60 times 16 divided by 4 over 160. So this cancels with this, so we get 4 here. This 0 cancels with this cancels with this, we get a 4, and then we cancel this with this and we get a 3 by 2. So the result is 3 divided by 2 meters, which is equal to 1.5 meters. So to form an equivalent system of all of this distributed force, we want to apply a resultant force of 160 Newton, and this force should be applied at a distance of 1.5 from here. So this force would be applied somewhere here. Okay, so I hope this process is clear, and let me mark the distance also. So this distance from here to here is just 1.5 meters. Okay, so that's it. In terms of evaluation and calculation, this is actually easier in the sense because as engineers we are trained to solve integrals much more often than we are trained to solve summations. Okay, so let's look at one more example. So the solution to this example is already given in the slides, you can look it up. Exactly the same thing, we get 160 Newton force and x bar is equal to 1.5 meters. So the resultant force is 160 Newton and it applied at this position x bar, which is 1.5 meters from this end O. Okay, so let's look at another example. We have a distributed loading of P equals 800x pascals x over the top surface of the beam shown in figure 4-50A. Determine the magnitude and the location of the equivalent resultant force. So now in this case we have been given the P function, which is pressure. You can call it a pressure function. So we know first of all that W of x is nothing but P of x times the width, and width in this case of the beam is 0.2. So we get 800 divided by 10 times 2x, and now this has a units of Newton per meter. This cancels with this again becomes 160 x Newton meter. Okay, so this is W of x. Okay, so now the next step we want to do is to again exactly what we did before. To find the resultant force, we do an integral of W of x dx. And in this case, because if I were to plot the W of x function, so let me just plot that here. So this is my x-axis and this is my W of x axis. So this is x. Here I plot W of x function. So I know that this is going to be a straight line. Let me change the color a little bit. So this function is going to be a straight line coming from origin, and this, so this point is 9 meters. And so rather than using, let's just use the other form that we know, that this is just the area under the distributed distribution loading curve. So here we want to find the area under this curve, okay, and this is just a triangle. To find the area of a triangle, we need the height, we need the base. We already have the base to be 9. The only thing we need is the height, and this height is going to be equal to, when x is equal to 9, so this turns out to be equal to 160 times 9. This is the height, okay. So now we have the height and the base, so we can just say that this function is just half times 9 times 160 times 9, and this becomes 80, and we have to do 80 times 81, okay, and this is in newtons. So we have the resultant force. Again, the next step would be to find the moment. Rather than the moment, let's just directly find. So let me draw a line here, and we use this area, this, to find x bar, which is simply equal to integral of x, w of x dx, divided by integral of w of x dx, okay. And I hope you can, w of function is already given. This integral is from 0 to 9, and this is again from 0 to 9. I hope you would be able to solve this these two integrals. This integral we already solved. This other one you can solve on your own and find the result, okay. So this is it for today's lecture. We will solve some more problems, and we will look at how we have some methods to simplify these calculations a little bit in the next lecture, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.